Hi Benjamin, how are you?
Hi dear Borna. I'm fine. Thank you so much. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm seeing you here today. But before we're gonna watch your performance, I want to introduce you to lovely people who are watching actually this part of my show. This is the first time I would like to introduce you with amazing and special musician who's called Benjamin. He's from Iran and he was born almost 30 years ago in Iran. He's a blind musician who is extremely talented. What I've been trying to do on the second season of my show is to introduce you with special people or disabled people like Benjamin, and you will see how amazing he is. So before we're gonna actually watch his performance today, so I would like to talk to him a little bit and introduce Benjamin to you. So Benjamin, tell me, which part of Iran are you from and how old are you?
I'm from Gonbad. I'm Turkmen from Golestan province.
Okay, so tell me, you were born blind?
No, but I lost my eyesight after 3 years.
Okay, so I would love to know about your story, but not today. I will have you as a special guest on my show later on the second season of Borna Kazerani's show. But today, I want, and we all want to see your performance and your singing. So tell me, what are you going to sing today and what you're going to play for us today?
I decided to play music in classic style from a famous singer in Iran called Feridun Frogi. If you want, if you let, I want to start.
Whenever you're ready, please. We are all ready. Please start. Thank you.
انگار دستام سرد سردم انگار چشمام شب تارم آسمون سیاه ابر پاره پاره شرشور بارون داره میباره حالا رفتی و من تنها ترین عاشقم رو زمین تنها خاطراتم تو
دیگه نمیتونم خسته خستم تلسم غم رو زدم شکستم داره چشمام ابر بارون رو گونه هم شده روون رفتی و رفتی تنها میمونم تا آخر واسط میخونم حالا رفتی و من تنها ترین عاشقم رو زمین تنها خاطراتم تو بودی فقط همین حالا رفتی و من تنها ترین عاشقم رو زمین تنها خاطراتم تو بودی فقط همین
Carla! Hello, how are you doing?
I'm good, how are you?
We're well, that's a very good question. We're all locked down here in Melbourne, which has been crazy over the past 6 months. But I'm doing really well. I'm really busy through this show. A nice weather. Have you here on my show? Do you want to say hi to those who are watching us now and maybe later?
Hello everyone, my name is Carla Grace. I am a wildlife artist based in Adelaide, South Australia. And this is Emily Marie. She is my studio companion. And she also says hello to everybody.
She's gorgeous, she's gorgeous.
So, what is going on in your life? Africa, South Africa, New Zealand, Australia. You're
All over the place. So I've immigrated 5 times in my life. So born in South Africa, and then we grew up in Zimbabwe, fled Zimbabwe to New Zealand because we had family there, and then we moved back to Africa, but to Zambia, because my dad is quite the farmer, and he's just Africa's in his blood. So we were always going to go back. So I was 14 when we went back, and we finished high school. I have 2 older brothers, and they finished high school before me. So I went to join them at the university that they went to in Auckland. And so I went back to New Zealand, studied for a year at that university, dropped out and changed to doing a fine arts degree at a art college. And then dropped out after getting a diploma because it just wasn't my fit. And then decided I'm going to move to Australia and then I see what happens. And here I am.
There you go. When's the next move?
Hopefully not for a while. But we're always open to moving.
So, one of the most interesting actually parts in your biography, when I was reading your biography, is a year you moved to Zimbabwe. I mean, with your family to Zimbabwe from South Africa, because you were born in South Africa. You moved to Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
Because of your grandma, am I right?
Yeah, so my grandfather passed away in 1993, and my mum's side is from Zimbabwe originally. My dad's side's from South Africa. So my Oma was left in Zimbabwe without anyone, and she had some property down on Lake Kariba that she just needed some help with, and my dad, I guess he was unhappy in the job that he had, so he decided, as a family, we'll move up and start helping her. So that's what we did. Oh dear.
Okay, so the reason that I'm saying that is very interesting because you lived in wildlife and you grew up in kind of like wild environment.
Yeah.
At the early age, you spent like lots of your years actually there. I want you to share some of your experiences with someone who's never been in Zimbabwe, and I'm sure lots of people are watching us. They never been in
So
Zimbabwe.
we were very lucky. Our childhood was very unique in that we had a lot of wildlife that sort of roamed freely between properties in our area. So our house ran, like, it was right on the edge of the lake. So our lawn, it just ended where the lake started. So during the day, we would have a lot of crocodiles tanning themselves on our lawn. And at night, we were never allowed outside because the hippos would be eating the grass. And we'd often have a lot of issues, well, not really issues, but encounters with elephants that would come through our property, and depending on the time of year, some of the male bulls would be a little bit protective or territorial or just generally aggressive. So there were a lot of times where, like, my dad was like, you go that way and I'll go this way and distract the elephant. So there were a few stories like that, but we would often, like, it was just part of our week where we would go for a drive. It wouldn't even be a far drive. It would be like half an hour into a little bit more of a remote area, and we would just sit there and have a glass of Diet Coke and some chips and watch the herds. And yeah, that was my childhood. So it was very, very unique. So it was the 90s before things became quite unstable, like right when things started to change in Zimbabwe. So now, unfortunately, those experiences with wildlife is more concentrated to game reserves and national parks. Yeah, we had this one buffalo. It must have gotten wounded. It had a big wound on its side from another horn, and it decided that it was going to take refuge in our, like, there was a big gully next to our garden, and it decided it was going to lie there. It was obviously dying. And unfortunately, so we were homeschooled while we lived in Kariba, and the classroom was about 20 meters away from this buffalo. And so school was cancelled for a few days while the buffalo decided what it was going to do, and eventually we called park rangers to come in and help it out. So, yeah, those sort of stories.
God.
Yeah.
Very wildlife.
Yeah, very, very wild, yeah.
That's very interesting. That's a country I really love to go, Africa. I mean, the continent.
Yeah.
I love it. It's on my list. So, as far as I understood, you mentioned in your biography about how contributing in wildlife and living in such an environment let you become an artist and amazing painter. And I want to take you back to those years and the things that I'm quite unsure is about your, like, everything happens subconsciously at an early age. Am I right?
Yeah, I think I never really wanted to become an artist. I think I didn't know what I wanted to become, actually. So I went to university to study psychology and art history initially. But in terms of like how I actually got to where I got, I think subconsciously I was always drawn to art because it's always been something I'm good at. I started off with portraiture. Like that was always something that you just draw people. I mean, every artist, you know, that you study in art history is done portraiture on some degree. And so you always do it because people are what you're most exposed to. So I started off with portraiture, and I started doing art like more realistically when I was in Zambia. And she's going to take over the interview. It's okay. So I started doing art for sort of pocket money from the age of about 16, 17. I was just doing portraiture for kids, people's kids and like their pets. Wildlife wasn't really a massive focus. I started copying photographs from magazines and things like that when I was about 16, 17, but didn't really like sell any of these drawings that I did from those photos. It was more just commission based. And then it just sort of, I decided to study art at university because that was what I was good at, and I didn't know what else to study. And the parents were like, no, you should study. I was like, but I want to go to Australia and take a gap year. And I know you should study. So
that's what I was wondering, like, because what happened like in your family that you had to leave Africa and move to New Zealand in the year 2000?
Yes.
And again, all of you returned to Africa after 6 years later. And briefly tell me what happened and tell me about your life situation when you moved back to Africa.
Yeah, so I was 9 when we fled Zimbabwe to New Zealand. So basically, Mugabe, who was president at the time, he decided that he would empower the Africans to take their land back. But unfortunately, it sort of got to the point where they were just, if you weren't black, you were removed from your property by gunpoint with the clothes on your back. Sorry. And so it was only very specific groups in African communities that took up arms and decided to do this. A lot of the Africans that work like for European farmers, their livelihoods, they love the communities that they lived in. So unfortunately, it just sort of empowered extreme behaviors, and they were unfortunately the strong arm. And so when those groups got closer and closer to Kariba, Helen Clark, who was Prime Minister at the time in New Zealand, aware of the situation for expats in Zimbabwe, lowered the entry point system for anyone really, and it was just for a short amount of time. And my great grandmother lived in New Zealand, and because my on my mum's side, she had some relatives in New Zealand, they were like, get out now while you can, we will help you. So that's what we did. We stayed there for 6 years. So from the age of 9 till I was 14, just about to turn 15. We got our New Zealand citizenship. I got used to first world countries and cell phones and having friends and the cinemas. And then Dad's like, hey guys, guess what? I'm moving back. You're coming with me. So it was goodbye to the cell phone, the friends, the cinemas. We moved out onto a property in northern Zambia in an area called Chingola, and it was off the grid. There wasn't any power. It was hot water that you had to light a fire underneath the tank to get going. So it was very different for especially myself as a teenage girl. And basically we went into homeschooling. I had 3 subjects: maths, biology, and I can't even remember. We basically didn't have school for a year. and I used my time to draw. I just started copying birds out of a bird book, just because there wasn't really anything else to do. So yeah, it was quite something. I guess I lost control of my life in a as a teenager. You're fairly internal. You internalize everything, and everything is quite dramatic. So I sort of, I guess, a lack of control. I decided to control what I ate, and so I ate very little, and I became very, very thin over that year. And through one circumstance to another, we ended up leaving that farm to another one, which was a little bit more central to more other people, especially European people. And sort of the circumstances became a lot better. So the reason why we moved back to Africa is my dad had started a business in aloe vera when we were still in Zimbabwe. And so basically our move to New Zealand put a hold on this business that he had been already developing. Sorry, Emily's in the corner here, as you can see her bald head. So he wanted to keep doing that because that was his passion. So when we moved back to Zambia, he had an aloe vera plantation, and we ended up moving the aloe plants from one farm to another just because one business partner ended up doing things that we didn't agree with, and so he went to another one. My dad hasn't made the greatest business decisions. He's just full of ideas and ready to go. He'll do all the hard work, but as far as the business thing goes, he sort of needs a partner. And they're still there. My mum and dad are still in Zambia. He's doing different things now, so just another project. So yeah.
Wow. Very interesting. Very interesting. When I came across your profile, I was speechless. And I was like, oh my god, who is this artist? You are amazing, amazing artist. I was not believing actually what I was looking at. And you're amazing artist. And the main reason I really wanted to have you on my show is the sense of realism, in your painting and your experiences. The way you draw makes anybody feels that animals is live, and it's here, and it's very much like, as I've said, like alive. And what do you want to convey to your audience through your paintings?
I'm really glad that you say that the animal feels alive, like it's part of the room, because I guess from my childhood of having that real experience of animals, I want to give that experience to other people. So that's why the animals are so realistic, is because I want them to feel real. I want you to look at the painting and think, this animal's going to take a breath at any moment. Like, you just sort of feel it in the room. I want it to be more than just a pretty picture, but I want it to be visually stunning. The thing I struggled with at art school was that it wasn't about the visual quality of the artwork. It was about the concept and the process behind it, which is great. There's a market for that, and the history of art has grown to that. But there's also people out there that don't get that, and they really want the visual strength to be there and the technical strength to be there in the art. So that's sort of what I'm drawn to as well. And if my work isn't visually like amazing to look at, then I've failed. So the first thing that needs to draw people in is the eyes. Like, the paintings have to have an incredible eye contact. I'm just going to wheel this. Oh, I can't, it's stuck. So behind me, I've got this guy. So you straight away feel like there's another thing in the room, kind of thing. So
exactly.
If I get the eyes wrong, I will keep working on it, or I'll change the plan. Everything evolves around how the eyes look and how the emotion comes through the eyes. So I'm really glad that you you get that as well.
Are really real. That was the very first thing that actually drew my attention when I crossed your profile. And congratulations for being being amazing artist, and you drew so real. I was speechless. Now I want to ask you a favor, and as we made the agreement previously, I want to please grab your phone and just give us a tour. So there's an option you can actually click on it and just take us with you and give us a tour at your studio. And
this is my view in the studio. Basically, it's not that interesting. But if we turn around, if I can get this camera to work. So, all my camera gear. The studio is very, very small. This is the latest one in the Uninvited series, which is my latest series. And so he's the only one I have available at the moment. I'm lucky to be in a situation where my work does sell. And he has just been hanging out with me. And
oh my god,
this one is chapter 3 in this new series that I'm doing. So
wow. Oh wow. Oh my god. I can't like touch it. It's like extreme.
see the process here is sort of like the difference in the layers. So I'm just sort of blocking in where the fur is going, and it slowly gets more and more layers, and then it gets to a point where it's relatively finished. So that's sort of the way I work. This one's going to have a couple in it. So there's another little tiger there. So yeah, this is, I'll move back so you can see.
So how long does it usually take to complete or draw that chimpanzee? How long does it take?
The chimp took 4 weeks, 4.5 weeks. This is mainly because I have Emily with me and things just take a lot longer. Usually so my most productive year was the year before I fell pregnant with Emily, and I would be able to do a painting a week.
Right.
I've slowed down a lot, but that's okay. That's totally fine. It makes my work slightly harder to get, which a lot of art collectors love. So the second room that I've taken over in the house is the packaging room. This is where I package all the artwork and store it, and all the different painting mediums and everything. It's all very organized.
Wow.
I love the lack of chaos and my handy list of things to do. The other part of the house that I take over, because I work from home, there's the husband and the baby. And this, because another part of everything I do is the video tutorials. So, trying to get my camera down. So this is where I work on all the tutorials in the corner there. And this there is a print of the very first acrylic painting that I did. It's the painting I did that sort of made everything possible. So this is just a print, but it's close on how it actually looked. So yeah, he looks at me and reminds me about where I started every day. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. On the wall here, we've got, this is a print of a drawing that I did while I was at uni. So I did this one when I was 21. That's a life-size tiger, so the dimensions were specifically to be life-size. And then this one is a pencil drawing. This is an original.
Oh my god.
It's a pencil drawing I did when my husband and I first started dating. And he would spend countless hours in my little room
Oh.
And I decided I would never sell it because it's too sentimental. And
Don't.
so here it is, still in the house, still with us after all this time.
I'm amazing. They're looks extremely real. And
Thank you. So yeah, basically it's a very simple setup. That's it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You.
So, thank you very much. So, Carla, one of the things that I've been learning through my show is about African in general and African artists. I didn't know there are incredible painters and artists, and obviously, so you're one of them. And in Africa, particularly, I'm talking about painters. Why do you think is that? What do you think is like that? They're just amazing artists.
I think you're going to find amazing painters in any environment that stimulates a really raw creativity. Mm-hmm. So Africa is a very like just the element of nature and wildlife. It's a very unique environment to be in. You have a lot of stimulus.
Right.
There's mountains, there's savannas, it's just so diverse. Like there is so much in Africa. So I think that there's a lot of inspiration. Like it's the same. You go to places like the south of France, you're going to find a lot of painters. You go places like around the Yellowstone Park area, for example, there's going to be a lot of painters. So, and it's the type of art as well that you find in different areas. So I think there's a higher concentration of wildlife artists in environments where there's a higher concentration of wildlife. And not just wildlife like in the zoo, wildlife as in like everywhere. So Africa does have an incredible environment for artists to stimulate their curiosity. I think is would be the main thing.
Reason. Okay, that's very interesting. So I've got 2 more questions for you, and people keep sending me questions. I'm so sorry, but I've got
Let me finish my question.
Let me finish my questions. And it's more than 200 questions, and I'm afraid to go through. We are all living in such a critical situation, crazy situation all around the world, particularly here in Australia regarding COVID-19.
Yeah.
And no one knows really. I didn't know that actually you're living in Melbourne, and we have to catch up one day. So, and no one knows really what's going to happen in the future. You as an artist, what do you think will happen to the art industry in general?
I think everything's going to go online with every industry, really. But it's been going that way for the past 5 to 10 years anyway. I think COVID has just sped up the process. I think that there's a lot more interaction online, especially between businesses and their followers, their community. For myself specifically, I've just carried on as per usual because I'm not represented by a physical gallery. I'm not reliant on an agent or any third party. Everyone can contact me directly for a sale or for a tutorial. So it's sort of, I was always going to create tutorials, like really content rich, dense, like just packed with information, and COVID sped that up for me. So yeah.
Anybody like contact you directly, and I did contact you directly, and there you go. And so it was amazing conversation with you. It was. I'm so glad I've had. Did you like our conversation?
It was amazing. It's fantastic. Thank you so much. It's been really good to get to know you as well the past few weeks.
Thank you very much. Hopefully to meet you one day in reality.
Yeah. It's a small world.
I know. This is so. I'm going to say I'm going to say goodbye to you. Thank you very much for being here again, and I really enjoyed. I loved the conversation with you, and well done.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Anytime. Bye, Emily. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Take care.